last week, saying that we'll introduce it.
Fine.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are adopted. First item on the schedule today is old business, and that is city support of the 2023 Epsom Women's Golf Tourney funding, tour funding discussion. And Mr. Brady, I see you back there, and I believe you have a special guest. Please introduce it.
Yes. So this is Brian Davis, our new executive director.
Welcome.
Brian has just come in as the executive director. Where are you coming from, Brian?
Coming from the city of Vestavia Hills.
Vestavia Hills.
Longtime employee there, in Public Works, Parks and Recreation, Engineering.
Well, a very hearty welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
It is a much-loved entity you're taking the helm of. Steer it well.
Yes, sir.
So have a seat for just a second, Mike. Ms. Standridge, I think we talked with you about potential funding sources for this.
Yes, sir. So A&F's general opinion on funding sources for this item would be that there is $157,000 left in the bid fee fund. That is a portion of the lodging tax that comes in that is by code set aside for tourism matters. 1% is set aside for bid fees, and then 1% is set aside for capital. And so the bid fee fund, which is actually where we usually will send bid fees through TTS. They will be the ones that make requests of that funding, and we then pay them. But there's about $157,000 left in that fund right now. Then there's also about $350,000 left in general fund contingency. Those are the two options that we have.
350 and 157, with 157 being the preferred. Yes,
Can
sir.
I ask a question?
Sure.
If you take it out of the bid contingency, you don't have 57,000 left to the end of September, right?
Yes, sir.
And so, how does that work with TTS? I mean, do they come, if for some reason they needed 100,000, we'd have to make up that difference, right?
Well, and so TTS, at the beginning of this year, they gave us a listing of all of their major plans, events they had planned, and so we have actually fronted them that amount. They should not be coming back to us for the rest of the season, unless there's something big and new that they just weren't aware of at the very beginning.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you,
Okay.
Ms. Standridge. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So let me give this kind of instruction. There's support here to fund this and make it happen very decidedly. We would like, next week, we'll put it on the schedule for vote. We would ask that y'all bring us the financial statements both for last year's event and for this year's proposal. And then, and we can talk about, I guess, offline, we want to ensure that our funding is not the only one left hanging out there, that the other contemplated funding partners are tied together, Ms. Standridge, in a funding agreement. Don't we typically do that in things we collaborate with the county or others on?
Yes, sir. We can work into account any of those parameters within the funding agreement that council requests, and I would think that would be something that you would want to include in this one.
Okay, we would. And so, if you'll have those ready for us next Tuesday, and Ms. Standridge, do we have a template of that we just modify?
A funding agreement template?
Right.
Yes, sir. We do.
Is next Tuesday realistic?
I'm going to ask OCA to answer that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask one
Sure, I was
question?
gonna say now, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Crowe, y'all have a question?
Mike, has the county committed and Northport committed to this great
We're
tournament?
going before the county commission on May the 3rd. So at their next meeting, we're going to present our sales pitch and official request for
Are
funding.
you asking for the same amount?
We are, yes.
And what are we asking of Northport?
We've asked the same amount of Northport, and we're not on the agenda yet. So
What did Northport do last year? Did they do anything?
they did a lot of in-kind services. So they had crews out there cleaning up the
Help
course.
get ready for it.
There was a lot of ground development needed, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. Okay. That's good. No, I don't know if Matthew's got questions. I don't have any more, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, again, gentlemen, thank you for coming. Brian, again, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next Tuesday.
That's good.
Do you need a
Thank
motion
you.
to approve this?
No, it's just for discussion.
Okay.
It's just on here for
Okay.
discussion.
So that's fine.
Under new business, item number 2, authorizing payment of flood insurance premium for the Tuscaloosa River Market.
Yes, sir, Mr. Busby. This is a renewal for the flood insurance premium for the Tuscaloosa River Market. This popped up. We have an insurance litigation committee coming up, I believe on May the 30th. This is due May 13th. I emailed probably about 6 weeks or so ago you and that committee chair, Council President Tyner, asked if I could put this on this one. The premium for this year is $8,227. This is an increase of $1,200, which is a hefty little increase in there. I
Why, do
inquired
we know?
as to, what's that?
Do we know why?
Well, so I inquired into that, and this is in line with what they're seeing across flood insurance coverage in general, which frankly doesn't surprise me with what's going on.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
No, sir. So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, item number 3, general fund budget revision number 13.
Good afternoon, council. This general fund budget revision is a request to move money from the ambulance franchise revenue line item into an expense account for repairs and supplies for fire. This is for the pilot blood program that has been reviewed by my office and OCA that it adheres to the requirements in the ambulance franchise agreement. If you would like details about that program, Chief Smith is here and can do the finer details that more so than I can. The amount to be moved out is $86,000. Again, out of the revenue that is received from the ambulance franchise agreement and into an amount that they can actually spend for that. Currently, we have, I think it was about, was it 800,000? 400,000 listed, like already sitting in the ambulance franchise fund as of right now, so this would just be coming out of that.
All right. Chief Smith, we're on the edge of our sheets. This is, just give us a short synopsis.
Yes, sir. Over the last few years, we've been working with our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Crawford, on several initiatives, several cardiac, stroke initiatives. This goes with the trauma initiative that we're implementing on his recommendation. We were able to fund the vast majority of it with CDGB COVID money. This money that we're asking for, there's a one-time purchase around $50,000 for equipment that we weren't able to purchase with that money because the truck it will be going on and used for is not in a low to moderate area income. The remaining 2 sections will be used for what we're estimating the blood will cost us. Basically, if someone's in a severe accident, gunshot wound, stabbing, any type of traumatic event where they're losing blood, this will allow us to have blood on site and be able to administer it. We feel confident we're going to save some lives with this.
Sure.
Any other questions?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item is approved. Item number 5, approval of fiscal year 2023 capital project recommendation, GF RFFI budget, Tuscaloosa Public Library.
I think we missed
We got one
one.
more before that.
Oh,
Water and
well,
sewer.
Sorry.
Item number 4, water and sewer reserve for future improvements, budget revision number 4.
Yes, thank you. So this is the item that Brian Gurney briefed you on in Projects Committee regarding the 69 South and Skyland Boulevard utility relocation with TCRIC. This amount will create the reimbursement from TCRIC, and then it will also create the betterment amount that that Mr. Gurney briefed you on, the 1.17% that will come out of contingency.
Okay.
Carly, does that show us, I know all of that's not due until we spend it, but does that show $14 million that Tick-Rick will owe us eventually?
Yes, sir.
But all of that's not incurred yet. I know we just approved this, but I mean.
So the $9 million,
Yeah.
So the $9 million construction contract that was just approved in Projects Committee is obviously the vast majority of that.
Sure. Okay. I don't have a question.
No questions.
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, item number 5, approval of the fiscal year 2023 capital project recommendation, Tuscaloosa Public Library roof. Ms. Standridge.
Yes, so this is the one item that was presented in the mayor's capital budget presentation last week that will then go to the Tuscaloosa Public Library for capital improvements to their building. This item was pulled out of the full proposal and presented to you singularly for council consideration just today. It's for roof repairs and other capital improvements to the building. 1.1 million is proposed.
And the similar dynamic to what we asked about with para on the funding agreement. My memory is it was 2.45 with us doing 1.1, the county
Doing 1.1.
1.1, North 4.4. So
Mm-hmm.
is there a mechanism that ties us all together in that?
We can, when we create the funding agreement and authorization for the funding agreement, we can add in that, all players must be at the table before the 1.1 million from our end is expended.
I think that's great.
Any objections to that?
Hey, Jennifer, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You don't see that as an issue, everybody's
No.
committed to
No,
doing that,
I
right?
don't see that as an issue.
I'd make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. That concludes the items on the budget. We've had one that we've been dragging along by a rope behind us for, I don't know, a couple of months now.
Right.
And this is the funding for the Weaver Bolden Library Branch.
Yes, sir.
We have library staff over there. I think,
Our two members on the library board here.
yeah, we've got Ms. Howard and Mr. Wilson have both served to help develop a sort of a matrix of taskings that we would expect to grow out of any funding for that.
Mhm.
And I think, Mr. Wilson, Ms. Howard, are y'all satisfied with where we are today?
Mr. Chairman, I want to go on record to say, I fully support the library. I truly believe in what they do when we talked about the Weaver Bolden branch. And my concern is that I want to make sure that the financials that we have talked about are done. I wanted to, when we looked at the 337 for the 2023 year, I think that you had some concerns that you wanted to ask about that. And I think once those questions are answered, I think we can move forward with funding the Weaver Bolden branch fully.
And I just want to say, I'm in support, have always been in support. My children frequent the library and the Weaver Bolden Library at times. We look forward to the bookmobile whenever it's going to be functioning again. And so I'm in support of it, and any transparency that, the Finance Committee feels they need, I'm in agreement with that also.
Well, thank you. I think we've got, we've looked at what we need to see. I've looked at some material that we've got, and Ms. Standridge and I have talked together. Ms. Standridge, anything you want to put in our ear as we consider this? My concern was, what we were presented with was, hey, you said you'd pay for it, but now we've recalculated and it costs $337,000
Right.
more than we thought. I just wanted to see those calculations. I've got an expense, a costing, a sheet that will serve that purpose. Ms. Standridge?
In doing some of the review for the library financials, I've been in communication with Ms. Pearson regarding those. I still have a couple of questions that really should be able to be cleared up this week, and asking for, projection into 23. I think we'll stand behind those, and then that should be able to be presented to you for, full support vote, I would imagine next Tuesday.
So could we double this up if it comes to the Finance Committee and double up for council?
Again, I'm gonna ask OCA if they can, we've got 3 funding agreements on OCA's docket. I'm gonna ask if they have capacity to be able to do
But I
that.
don't know that this one requires a funding agreement, right? This is not collateral.
Reimbursement,
Right.
basically.
No, well, this
You will
is,
need to-
our belief is what we're funding is the forward remaining portion of 2023.
Right.
Okay.
If you want to, yes, but if our agreement was gonna be built upon, that we would ultimately get to a point of reimbursing the library for actual cost at Weaver Bolden, similar to how we do the tennis center with para. so we would have a specialized agreement just for that.
I think we're absolutely open to that. I don't
Right.
think we had talked about doing that prior to dispensing with the request on the table right now.
So you just want to, regardless of what the end of the year closeout is, just go ahead and fund the delta of what is projected? I mean, we will do whatever you want.
I'm gonna make sure we're speaking, regardless of what the end of the year closeout is.
And I know I'm gonna be off, Jennifer, so just,
Mhm.
if they believe in their budget at 650 and it comes, and they need 300,000 more dollars from the city, and it comes in at 625. You know, we would rather just fund that $275,000
I got you. So
instead of the full
how would we
300.
craft that?
I would have to turn to how our CFO and city attorney would want to do that legally. We want to reimburse you every dime we owe you guys.
Right.
And that is my one caveat with putting that back on OCA to have it for next Tuesday, because I do think that this one, unfortunately, will be a little bit more, we'll have a few more scope of service details to be hammered out. We can create the budget revision for it and have that on next Tuesday as,
Okay.
it generally is like as a show of faith that
Gotcha.
we will eventually
Okay.
pay that out. And then work to craft the funding agreement, maybe, and give me a little bit more time.
What I would suggest, and this wasn't on the agenda or that I noticed, so I've thought about this in the last 30 seconds. What I would suggest is ANF can do their side of things. We can do a resolution expressing this council's intent to cover the shortfall of the library upon proof of what that shortfall is. Then when we get that shortfall number in, boom, we do the
I think
funding.
that's perfect.
I think that's great.
Ms. Pearson, does that leave you and your team confident enough of what you have at your disposal that you can move forward with summer planning?
That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you,
Sounds
sir.
like a good
Can I
deal.
say one other thing, Mr. Chairman? I do think that, I want to thank our appointees to the board for their hard work. And Ms. Ennis and Ms. McCracken, I think you guys do a very good job, and Jennifer and your staff, I think, do a very good job. I think sometimes people get frustrated, and I even get frustrated by the slowness of government sometimes. But we all support the library. We appreciate you guys, and you make a huge difference in this city for our children.
You do.
But I think that it's our job as a council to work with the mayor and the administration to look at everything, to see how money is spent, and to try to make the best decision for the taxpayers. And I think this is a great example. I know it took too long. But we had a great discussion. Jennifer, y'all did a great job of presenting to us, and we've come to the right solution. And I think that's the way this council operates. That's kind of how we roll. And I just want y'all to know that. I appreciate what y'all do, and I know
We thank you for your support.
you're welcome. We probably drive y'all crazy, but that's okay.
We
But,
fully support it.
we're big time supporters.
Jennifer
So,
said next time, hurry up.
I'm gonna blame the chairman.
Last time you got a
I'm
field,
gonna blame the chairman.
last time you got a field, sir, because we let her talk on it. Lots of times.
No, but I appreciate
All right,
y'all
thank you,
working
Jim.
through this process. I know it was
Appreciate
kind of
everybody.
aggravating, but
Mis-
we were in a better place.
Mr. Busby, once we have a chance to look at this, if there's a way we think is better to accomplish your intent, will you give us the latitude to come back next week with whatever we?
I do, and
Yes.
otherwise, we would expect at a minimum, a resolution of intent.
Mr. Chairman, can I, since I'm talking too much, can I say one more thing?
Go ahead, you want to talk today?
And again, one more thing, I'm only gonna speak for myself.
We're not even charging extra. Bonus material.
I'm one vote of 7, but I believe what I'm about to say is true. I think the intent of the mayor and the administration and this council is to get on a better funding place with you guys, with a plan that says we're gonna do this is what we need to operate, and we get on some longer term movement toward where the funding needs to be for the library. I think everybody feels that way. I think Walt and the administration feel that way, and I think we're gonna work together in the budget to start that process. So
I do believe
I also wanna throw that out
That's
to
right.
y'all again, that give y'all a little more encouragement today.
Yes,
So,
I agree.
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you.
I don't
I'm-
agree.
I'm done.
Is there a motion to
You
adjourn?
preached today, didn't you?
So moved.
Mr. Wilson, there's a motion to adjourn.
Second, yeah.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.